Welcome to the Virtual Ball Boys podcast. My name is Chris, and I am joined once again by my good friend, Matt.
Hey, Chris, do you want a power log?
Oh, no. No. Yeah. No. Gotta say, I going into, you know what, no, I'm not even gonna say anything.
Let's save it.
We got, so, in case, you guys missed last week, we basically, told everyone that this week we're going to be doing a review of the movie Home Team, which we will go into more details in the second half of this episode. We're also going to be joined by our good friend Walsh, who I know that is always down to just watch of anything with us and recount it. He's done 2 different podcasts in which he does that, so this is in his wheelhouse. So he'll be joining us for that. Yeah, you just threw me off with that because now I'm just thinking about that scene and I hate it. All right. But we have so much to talk about. Literally, it feels like an eternity since we recorded, and like everything happened. And I told Matt this before we actually got live. Tom Brady's retirement is number 3 on this news lineup, and the Washington football team new name is number 4. So like that's the kind of week it's been for all of us here.
Yeah.
So we do, and number 2 is the conference championship recap. We do want to go over that. We want to talk about the Super Bowl matchup of all Super Bowl matchups, but we have to start with the Brian Flores class action lawsuit, because holy shit, there's a lot of details in this one. Obviously, Matt, this is terrible circumstances, obviously, and it sucks that this is a problem that it had to get to this point for things to hopefully change, for black coaches to actually get a chance in this league as head coaches. But at the same time, I cannot help but be thoroughly entertained by the people implicated in this lawsuit.
Yes, I agree.
It is wild. And so I don't even know where to start, but I think I want to go through a timeline that is in subsequent order. So I'm going to start, let's go back to 2019 when Brian Flores was still a coach for the Miami Dolphins. When he was first hired, actually, in 2019, he was he was asked by the owner, Stephen Ross, to tank the season. And he would be paid $100,000 for each game that he lost, which has huge implications.
Massive.
Like, if that's actually something that happened, it puts such a fucking shit stain in the underpants of the NFL. Like, that is completely insane. Now granted, I don't know about you, Matt, but my reaction to this is also like, this probably happens a lot in the NFL, right?
I'm guessing it would. I remember and this might be something you had later down the line, but I saw something that Hugh Jackson was told the same thing.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Well, he ended up doing an interview on ESPN and said that even though he wasn't necessarily directly paid to tank, he's claimed that he was put into a situation where he was forced to tank. And I mean, obviously that's going to be a lot harder to prove.
Right.
But if there's texts and there is things involved with this, and there's some evidence that Brian Flores has. So then we get to 2020. And by the way, of course, as we know, that was the first season of the Virtual Ball Boys. I remember going into that season saying that we thought that the Dolphins were going to just tank it out because we did not think that was going to be a good team. But Brian Flores put that team in a position to win quite a few games, not a lot, but a decent amount to be like, oh, they're respectable. Then we go into 2020 and go deep into 2020, and we get to a meeting in which Stephen Ross brings Brian Flores onto a yacht and sets him up to meet with a superstar quarterback that is signed with another team, but is going to be going into free agency and potentially could sign with the Dolphins, and Stephen Ross wanted Flores to meet with the quarterback. Now, that's also illegal in NFL laws, because if you're talking to a player that is currently signed, that is considered tampering. And so when the quarterback arrived at said yacht, Brian Flores was like, fuck this, and left. And hence why the relationship between Stephen Ross and Brian Flores completely disintegrated. To that point, let's bring it now to this year, where the Dolphins have this 1-7 start, and then Flores goes on this run that ends up, this team ends up with a winning record when it's all said and done. And then he gets fired. And we're all like, what the fuck? And then Stephen Ross comes out and says, like, it's communication issues. He didn't have a good relationship with us. It just didn't work out. Yada, yada, yada. And now we have all these extra details here about the Dolphins thing. Now, the specifics of the class action... Well, first of all, Matt, what's your reaction to just the Dolphins part of this?
The Dolphins part is... It is wild. You have a chance to, like, do great things. You have this great head coach.
Mm-hmm.
It is insane how good your team is compared to what it was before you hired him.
Yeah.
And you're being dumbasses for not seeing this and trying to get your own selfish interests going up. Also feels like, hey, you're setting up a black head coach to fail. Feels like a ton of just really bad things. And I am applauding Flores in doing this, and I hope that it brings change, and I hope that it brings down everybody involved in this bullshit. Bring them down. I don't care how important they are. I don't care how prestigious they are. I don't even care how much I personally like them. If they're doing this shit, get them out of the league. Let this lawsuit play out.
Yeah.
Fuck them.
Yeah, I completely, and yeah, specifically with the Dolphins part of view, like it's completely insane. It sounds like such a tumultuous tenure, and it says a lot. And like one thing too that I thought about, and I feel like no one's really talking about, like when they are saying that they wanted to have I think that was at the end of the 2019 season. I don't know, something. There's some people that were saying that Brady was going to be the quarterback there, but I think if it's at the end of the 2020 season, maybe that was someone else. I don't know, but I don't know. I forget what the specific timing of that whole thing was, but still, yeah, like it's wild. It's to constantly be like, yeah, we're gonna try our best to fuck with the system as much as possible in order to get ourselves in as good a position as possible. And it's just that this is the kind of thing where I feel like if there's going to be some rule changes, I think this could kill the draft format potentially. If they're like, if a team is going to pay their coaches to tank, let's not incentivize that. Let's instead have it be where we have a lottery.
Put that lottery in.
And that's a legitimate thing that they could end up doing. The other element of this, though, is that, like, if it was 2020 that this quarterback meeting happened, does that mean that Stephen Ross was trying to get Brian Flores to sign on to a quarterback that was not Tua, and, like, completely throwing Tua under the bus completely? Because I know we've said for a while that, like, Tua is, like, kind of out of favor in Miami, but good God, like that actually setting up a meeting, a superstar meeting, which again probably happens. Like let's not be ignorant to this. Like this shit probably happens.
Yeah.
But it is, it's the fact that it was that that owner was tricking the coach into having the meeting is kind of insane. Now, this was just added context. This is not even what the lawsuit's really about. It is about racial discrimination, and this point that of emphasis here is actually not focused on the Dolphins, but on my beloved New York Giants, because essentially how this, I think, really ended up being brought to light was that last week, Brian Flores had a scheduled interview with the New York Giants. A few days before that, Patriots head coach Bill Belichick texted Flores and I actually, you know what? Just for the sake of being
as accurate as possible.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up the text because I have to imagine that it's here. Yeah. Yeah, so it says, so Belichick says to Flores, sounds like you have landed. Congrats. And then Flores says, did you hear something I didn't hear? And Belichick was said Giants with like a bunch of question marks and exclamation points. And Flores says, I interview on Thursday. I think I have a shot at it. And then Belichick says, got it. I hear from Buffalo and New York Giants that you are their guy. I hope it works out if you want it to. And then Flores says, that's definitely what I want. I hope you're right, coach. Thanks. Thank you. And then Flores realizes something, and he texts Belichick, Coach, are you talking to Brian Flores or Brian Dable? Just making sure. And Belichick, it looks like it took him some time to answer, but he then says, sorry, I fucked this up. I double-checked, and I misread the text. I think they are naming Dable. I'm sorry about that. And then he fucking signs the text BB. Which is very, very on brand for some reason. And then Flores says, thanks, Bill. This is insane. So, essentially, this text exchange happens before Flores goes in for his interview on Thursday for the Giants. Basically being told to his face that this job is taken, Dable has the job, and Flores is now having to sit through this interview on Thursday knowing very well that he ain't getting this job.
That he's just there because of the Rooney Rule and no other reason.
Right, exactly. It is insane, and I hate this team. I hate this ownership group, but I also just hate that we know this has always been speculated to happen for years, and now this is like concrete almost evidence here that these black coaches are being used as pawns to skirt a rule that is meant to try to enhance the diversity amongst the coaching ranks. And we are now 5 hires deep into this coaching cycle out of 9 openings, and all of them have been filled by white people. It's insane.
And it's like, I don't know, there's a lot of like affirmative action arguments that a lot of people like to make who don't really understand why these rules are in place. Yeah. Where it's like, oh, you should hire the best person for the job. That's unfortunately not what's happening all the time. Because a lot of, in this case, a lot of black head coaches are not truly given the opportunity that they deserve. I don't know. It's
right. No, you're right.
You should hire the best person for the job, but the fact that we've gone this long. And there's been so many coaches hired this season who are not black. It's ridiculous. Something needs to change.
Yep.
And I hope that this lawsuit brings all of that to light, just to truly hammer in how much of a problem there fucking is.
It's such an optic problem where 70% of your NFL players are black and 90% of your head coaches are white. Like, it's just the optics of it is brutal. It is not. That's not good. Yeah. And
then there's also situations like the Texans where it felt like they hired David Culley to set him up to fail.
Yep. 1,000%. Yeah, he did great.
He did great with the team he had.
Yes, he did great. It's. And yet, and now, they're considering Josh McCown, which, again, I like Josh McCown. And this is nothing against any of the coaches that are being considered and hired necessarily.
No, of course not.
But it is the system at play that, that you're just kind of... I understand that there is this weird, counter argument that people want to have where it's like, why is it such a big deal that that the white coaches are there's so many white coaches there in the league that are getting head coaching jobs? Well, it's just it's the fact that you have a league that is dominated mostly by black people, and you're not gonna have the same. It's to not have that same connection in that as your for your coach's point of views, and not being able to have that. Like it completely, it's so bad. It looks so bad, and it's completely just counter to all this bullshit that the NFL keeps on wanting to push of like, oh yeah, it takes all of us and racism. We're gonna play the Black National Anthem before every fucking game, as if that changes anything about what you have been doing for years now. The NFL has historically been a racist organization. Going and we talked about the concussion lawsuit, how they basically look at black people as being cognitively less than and paying them less because they believe that they're already basically they're saying that they're already brain damaged, which is just holy shit. Like, that is horrible, you know? And like, and of course what happened with everything that happened with Kaepernick, like, it is a systematic problem that is at the very top of this league. And when you don't have any, like, barely any diversity at all at the ownership positions of any of these teams, with the exception of, like, one, like, it is a huge problem for business, and it's a huge problem for people who have worked their asses off to get into higher positions, and they don't get it. It's just absolutely brutal. And just one last tidbit on this lawsuit. The Broncos were also implicated in this, where in 2019, when Flores, before he got the Dolphins job, was sat in an interview for the Broncos, they had John Elway and Ellis, I think the guy's name is, Joe Ellis. The two of them showed up late to the interview, and they looked both disheveled and drunk from the night before, hungover. And that was just funny to me. Yeah. I don't, like, who knows, like, if that can even be proven, but
we take this job so seriously.
Right. Well, yeah, again, like, if that is the case, then it's like, yeah, that kind of
we do know John Elway is bad at his job, so
yes,
that at least checks out.
So much that he had to end up, like, putting himself in a higher position, but away from the football side of things completely.
I'm telling you, he doesn't want a quarterback better than him. They got Manning.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not what this is about.
No, I know, but yeah, no, it is. And Brian Flores has been great. Like, he's been out, and he's basically said on the record, you know, that that he knows that at the end of the day, he probably will not get another opportunity in the league. That he's going to be a that ultimately he is going to have to take the brunt of all of this, but he does not, at the end of the day, really care. Like, because at the end of the day, he wants to actually play a role in making this better for future black coaches to actually have a decent opportunity, not just be used as pawns in the NFL game of hiring head coaches. Because that's ultimately what this Rooney Rule has done. And it is just crazy. It is a crazy situation. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so much. There's so much to it. I was trying to find the Flores statement that he gave out, but I'm having trouble locating it at this point. But yeah, he's been out. He's been doing so much media coverage, and I'm sure that you know, you'll be able to find that you'll be able to find everything on it. But he is really great, and we're throwing our support behind him. And it's just gonna be a bumpy, wild ride. I honestly, Matt, if I'm being just real, I don't think this is gonna end up working to Brian Flores' favor, but I hope that the fire that this might put light under the NFL causes them to reevaluate things and maybe, you know, maybe make some changes, hopefully.
Some more shit came out of about Dan Snyder today too, so that's fun.
Yes, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got
Yeah.
it's just that it was
Get-
just pile it on, like it's just ridiculous.
Pile it on. Get rid of them.
Yeah, Washington Commanders, which, spoiler alert, that's the new Washington team name. A employee made new allegations against team owner Dan Schneider on Thursday at a roundtable before the House Committee on Oversight and Reform, and I believe it just had to do with his just everything that we've already heard about him, just being just his creepy fucking self. Yeah, just this is what this league is, and it just makes me sad, but it's also it's just there's nothing that it's out of our hands, and hopefully it's shit could get done. All right, what a fucking opening. Let's get into the conference championships.
We thought the last playoff weekend was not going to be able to be topped.
It wasn't topped.
It wasn't topped, but we didn't think that the goodness would continue.
Sure, yes.
Into these next couple games.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that was an amazing day of football.
Yeah, and I think the summary I can give for both of these games is that the teams that maybe you thought were going to win were the the Chiefs and Niners going up big in the first half of this game and in both games, and then both of them in one way or another completely collapsing near the end for the Rams and Bengals to come out on top. And I want to start with the Chiefs one because it's the one that obviously I think is the more fascinating of the bunch, because this was a 21-3 game almost going into halftime, and the Chiefs had an opportunity to score in the end zone, and then just a play that was just poorly designed ended up stopping the Chiefs just short of the touchdown, and they ended up going into the locker room down or up 21-3, but without having gotten any points on the board after getting the ball back at the end of the half. And that was the start of a comeback where the Bengals led 3 different touchdown drives, and the Chiefs just could not get anything going on defense. And Matt, a lot of it rests on the shoulder, unfortunately, of Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, it was wild how bad Mahomes played in the second half of that game. Uncharacteristic for him. But I'm so happy that he sucked that bad. Seeing the Bengals come back and seeing them do what they did and what they were able to do when Mahomes faltered was amazing to watch. I was rooting for them so hard, and I'm so happy with the outcome, because the reason why we are called Team Chaos Productions is because of situations like this.
Yep.
Because of Chris and I's love for football and these fucking wild things happening. So it really amped me up the entire day. The level of maybe unearned, but probably earned at this point, confidence of a lot of Bengals players is phenomenal.
Yeah, I love it. It's, I don't know,
Yeah.
Like, it might get old at some point if the Bengals start dominating the world, but right now it's kind of, I don't want to say this is going to come across as, like, demeaning, but it's kind of cute. Like, in a way where it's just like, these are these underdogs that are just so confident that they can do it. And, like, and when I say cute, though, I also am not trying to say, like, they could do it. They could go the distance. There is no way that this team is going to just fall at the end here. They're going to compete till the very end, and they could very well win it. I'm just saying, though, it's almost like, is amazing that this team is as confident as it is, even despite having, prior to this season, having had 5 straight losing seasons and just being at the bottom of the barrel in terms of the league for many years. now like this is what we wanted the Jaguars to be back in 2017.
Yes.
Like this
Yes.
was this team actually coming together, and I guess you could just say like it's Burrow, right? Like that was the key.
Absolutely Burrow. And it's like think back to the draft last year, how everyone thought it was a horrible idea that the Bengals chose Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
Instead of a lineman. I mean, that's one of the best draft picks in recent memory at this point.
Yeah, it's insane. It's absolutely insane, the turnaround there. And yeah, and the Chiefs, I want to correct myself that it was 21-10 at the end of the half. And then there was 2 touchdown drives, one that ended with a 2-point conversion. And I had no hope up until that score, that field goal, or rather I think it was the 2-point conversion catch that I was like, okay, this team can do this. And then it was the training of field goals in the fourth quarter. And then to show my confidence of it, we watched the coin toss happen, and the Chiefs won the coin toss again, and I didn't turn off my TV this time, Matt.
Oh, that's amazing. My favorite moment about that was when Josh Allen tweeted pain immediately afterward.
Yes. Oh,
but
sorry, Josh.
I felt that. I shouted fuck in front of my parents when the Chiefs won the coin toss.
Yeah. No, it was it was like that moment of like, oh, here we go again. But there was something about the way that the Bengals defense and how the Chiefs offense generally had been playing to that point that I'm like, maybe there's a chance. And sure fucking enough, Mahomes throws like an almost interception to Eli Apple, and then throws an actual interception after Jesse Bates completely like takes down Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
And that ends up setting up the Bengals for a field goal by Amick McFearlesson, because he's fearless.
Yes.
He's just fantastic, and this team's in the fucking Super Bowl. It is incredible.
I just need to say that again. The Cincinnati Bengals are in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Of all teams.
I love it. Of all teams.
Yeah.
In the top heavy AFC, the AFC with the Chiefs and the Bills and the Titans.
Yeah.
Are in the Super Bowl.
It's
Houday.
Yeah. It's incredible. And I think it spells well though too, like for like the future of the AFC, how wild it's going to be. Because I still have this haunting feeling that like I think the Chiefs could still like dominate for years to come, but I also think that when you have the Bills and you have the Bengals and you have the Chargers and you have like all these teams with young quarterbacks that are just so much fun to watch, like there's something about that just feels like, all right, this is good. This is just gonna be a fun conference to watch for years to come, and hopefully we see like maybe like a turnstile, like changing of the guard constantly for this conference. But we'll see. On to the NFC game. I feel like I forget so much of what happened in this game because the Bengals one was much more memorable, honestly. Sorry, Rams. But yeah, this game really was the story of, it was a very uneventful first half. 49ers were up 10-7. Then the 49ers got the touchdown. It was 17-7, and it was felt like, all right, here we go again. The Rams are in... They're not in good shape. They're going to lose again to the 49ers. This is their hell that they live in constantly. Sean McVay did not have a good game. He had multiple challenges that were either completely objective and could have gone either way to a just flat out like, why are you challenging it? There's nothing going to happen there. Granted, you could blame him or you could blame the people in his ear that they're actually tasked with like asking him to challenge things. So who knows? But just a very poor performance that ended up having the Rams have only have 0 timeouts with 10 minutes left in the game. But regardless, the Rams end up having shutting out the 49ers in the second half, and they get 1 touchdown, and then Matt Gay ends up getting 2 field goals, even though they were stopped. Matt Gay had a wide right in this game. He is not having his best postseason either.
No.
But I think the play that we're going to remember from this game is that when the ball was put back in Jimmy G's hands to potentially lead the 49ers to the Super Bowl, he gets swallowed up by Aaron Donald as he's throwing the football, and the ball is picked off, and that sets up the kneel downs for Matthew Stafford to go to his first Super Bowl in his decade-long career. A little bit more than that. What was your reaction to this game, Matt?
I was so happy. After the Bengals won, I said, I don't care who wins the Super Bowl anymore.
Mm-hmm.
After the Rams won, I was even happier. I have a friend who's a Rams fan, and I've been kind of living vicariously through him a bit. It was awesome. I also kind of feel like a little bit of a ownership, I guess, in a sense, where
right.
I called the shot preseason. That
Yes.
I said, hey, this time it's actually going to work. Rams are going to bring in all this veteran talent, this insane veteran talent. They're going to go to the Super Bowl.
And that was pre-Vaughn and pre-OBJ,
yes,
too.
That was just, I think it was just Stafford.
Right. Yeah, that was the key of it, and yeah, it is absolutely incredible. I'm so happy for Stafford. You know, when you have the quarterback that is that good for so long, you know, kind of
shitty team,
having been on a really shit team for years, finally getting his opportunity to go to the Super Bowl, it's always great. And, you know, you had, I think that there's so much to be said about all the players that they added, and certainly Cooper Kupp was such a big factor again, and is the best wide receiver in the league right now. And OBJ obviously is such a big compliment for them, and he's playing out of his mind, which is something that we haven't seen in so long. He's not like a wide receiver 1, but he's the perfect complement for this team to have.
Absolutely.
And, you know, and Von Miller and Jalen Ramsey, of course, being that token guy. But the guy I root for the most of everyone on this team is Donald, man. I love this guy. He had a moment on the sideline when they were down 17-7, and he gathered everyone up, and he gave them a pep talk that will be remembered, especially if the Rams end up winning the Super Bowl here. That just to get their head back in the game, and he's not one to do that. Like the reporters who have been covering this team for a while have said, like, that's just not who Donald necessarily is. Yeah. He's not one that talks a lot. He's just, you know, he's in there and he does what he has to do. But to take on that like leadership role in that moment and to really get their defense popped up, and they did it, and they stopped the 49ers, and they played out of their minds, and they got to the Super Bowl. If there's any player in the league right now that deserves a Super Bowl ring, it's Aaron Donald.
Yeah. I love both these teams. This is my favorite Super Bowl matchup in years.
Yeah, probably ever for me.
Probably ever. I think the only one that would have come close to me, at least, like, definitely since, like, I started paying attention to football.
Right, yes. Same with me.
Back when I was a Patriots fan, I really liked Seahawks Patriots. That was a fun Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But man, this combination of teams and just what they represent, either result is going to be a happy ending for this season of football, for the league. Either one is going to be, either team winning is going to be fantastic.
Yeah. I do want to just shout out the 49ers. What a run for them.
Yes, also.
Yeah.
We also buried them, pretty sure.
Yeah. Oh my God, that would have been, ugh, that they got it away. But shout out to Deebo Samuel, who is just a superstar and will continue to be one.
One of the most fun people to watch play football.
Yeah, George Kittle and the defense, like the 49ers are just such a fun team, and you never know what you're gonna get with them, and they're always gonna be very interesting. I'm very curious what their time with Trey Lance is going to be like next year. And see if maybe if that's going to be the guy going forward. I do wonder. Shout out to Jimmy G too. He's the guy. I know that he's not the best player, and obviously he's been a punching bag for the fact that he really has had some poor games, but he's also had some great moments, like the fuck Packers moments on the field last week. And also, like, he's been so honest and open about knowing that his time was ending with the Niners, and he's super humble about it, and like just so much respect to the guy. I know it's tough. I know it's difficult to be the butt of everyone's jokes right now. He'll land somewhere. He's a respectable starter. Like he's not terrible. Like I think everyone wants to paint him as being this terrible quarterback. He's fine. He is serviceable. If he gets a really, really good team around him, he could do what he has been doing with the 49ers and lead them to Super Bowls potentially.
For sure. I have one more thought. Oh, this is the first Super Bowl. I think I said this to you. This is the first Super Bowl in 19 years to not have Brady, Manning, Roethlisberger, or the 49ers in it.
Wow. Yeah. That's wild. This is also the first Super Bowl where there is no 1, 2, or 3 seed in it.
Oh, that's right. The Rams were 4 seed.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's nuts too. So 2 years into this playoff format, and the 1 seed hasn't won yet.
Yeah, correct.
Which is crazy, and it's a small sample size. But if that is the case for the future, I'm kind of okay with it.
Yeah.
If it just ends up that way, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. We'll see if it ends up working out that way. I don't know. Part of it I feel like is just the teams that have also gotten to that 1 seed. But I don't know. I think one more year of the 1 seeds falling apart will be very fascinating. All right.
Okay.
We're very far into this podcast, and we're now just getting to probably the biggest football story of the year, which is Tom Brady has retired as our dad.
Tom Brady is our dad.
He's done. He's completely out of the league. I kind of love it that he's retiring now for many reasons, of course, but it also overshadows Big Ben. Like I think first of all, that's fantastic. Good job, Tom Brady.
Yes, thank you.
Second of all, there's so much to say about this guy. I want you to have the floor first because you actually had a period of your life where you were a big fan of the Patriots. So go ahead, talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, Patriots fan. I think that like my like for them started because so context for me being a Patriots fan formerly. My brother was a huge Yankees fan, and my brother and I didn't get along very much, so I started rooting for the Red Sox a lot. And then it's like, okay, I need another football team to root for. Oh, they're right next to the New England. There we go. And I was even like defending. I don't think I was like defending Tom Brady during Deflategate, but I thought that his suspension was ridiculous because the NFL chose to focus on that instead of the people like Big Ben who sexually assaulted people. But so his career is something that is obviously legendary. I think he is the greatest team sport athlete to ever play anything. He is outranked for greatest athlete of all time in my eyes by Serena Williams. But the greatest team sport athletes ever play. It was annoying to see him win so much, especially after I stopped being a Patriots fan. And I think that part of that started when Brady was as pro-Trump as he was. But I don't know. The fact that Brady did all that he did and hasn't done anything outrageously bad in terms of his like moral, in terms of like his actions.
Sure.
He's had shitty opinions.
Sure.
But actions speak louder than words is kind of where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it's an insanely good career. I'm happy for him. I think that he will. There's no fucking question. I feel like they should even just put him in the Hall of Fame right now and not even wait the 5 years. But it was a fantastic run, and it's wild that his run will have seemed to have ended like not with a Super Bowl. Like if he had retired last year, it's like, okay, go to a new team, win the Super Bowl, perfect, done, cut. I think that it's strange that he almost ends on a whimper, and barely a whimper, because he almost came back in that game against the Rams, but still with a loss.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, a great career. I wish him well. Gonna be insane to see the league without him.
Yeah. My entire fandom has been through the lens of Tom Brady almost. I mean, it's in the way of, rooting against him for his entire career,
and also being terrified of everything he does.
Yeah, because he was just this dominating force. Like, I was really into football the moment that his second career began. Like the guy had 2 Hall of Fame careers. It's insane that he ended up having and being a better quarterback than he was in his first career, even as he got to 40 years old and more and older. Like, he defined the league as this villain that always put up the front of being the nice guy, but that's what made it so frustrating, was that he wasn't like this like evil bastard. He was instead just like this, like he kind of had like this, like nice guy charm, this great teammate thing. Everyone loved playing with him. Everyone wanted to be around him, like that kind of thing. And that's what made him, like, he was too perfect almost
right
for this. So I think that after all this time, like, and as his career ends, like, I think I expected myself to be more excited and be super happy that he was gone. And I think in a way I will be, because it is nice to have new faces come into the Super Bowl, and it's not going to just be a Brady celebration every single time.
Mm-hmm.
But it does make me, I think, a little sad, because I think there is a fun side of having a dominant team constantly, where it is like this it's fun to root against it, and you have that, I think, right now kind of with Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
But Mahomes is not nearly at that level yet of dominance. They've only won one Super Bowl,
and most people want to root against Mahomes' brother and girlfriend than him. So
true. That's a valid point. I feel like with Brady, he just kind of like epitomizes that kind of like that heel in the league, even though, again, like, he is not like your typical heel at all, because again, he seems like a nice guy. I think back to Deflategate. I think about like that whole bizarre fucking scandal that happened. I think back to that following Super Bowl that happened after he got off of that suspension. That 28-3 comeback is going to be seared in my brain forever as a very much a low point, but also just an insane point in football history.
Yeah.
you go back, like I remember actually like just kind of taking it in and accepting another Super Bowl during his Rams victory. Obviously the Patriots Seahawks, that was the first full season I think I watched, was 2014, and that was, the Patriots being such a force, and Tom Brady Tom Brady winning that first Super Bowl in 10 years was such a moment in time. And that interception, that also was a bummer in a way, because I was rooting against the Patriots, but I also, like, you just have to respect every single moment that this guy's had, including the last Super Bowl he won last year with the Bucks. As unattractive as that game really was, like no one remembers a fucking play from that game. It was a blowout. No. It was terrible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't say anything more. Like, it's just, there's so much to say about Brady. I'm just super happy that he was able to be such a fun but frustrating part of our football lives. He will be missed, I think, in the grand scheme of things. And that is a very respectful way of him being retired than I really thought at first. I still think he's a rich guy who does some bullshit things, and now he's in Bitcoin, and I'm just annoyed by that too.
Yeah.
And fucking there's just some shit with him that I am not a fan of his in a grand scheme of things. But
I'm not going to support the TB12 brand after this.
No, but on the line of shit people that's in this league, Tom Brady is not the shittiest, and that's what matters the most.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's better for us not to put our attention on shitting on Brady when Rodgers exists,
right? And
as an example,
and Big Ben,
and Ben, and Jameis Winston, and
right. the list goes on and on.
List goes on. Most of them quarterbacks.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's that. Brady's gone, and now it'll be fascinating to see what the Buccaneers do from here. Maybe Jimmy Garoppolo. We'll see. That would be wild. All right.
How much more do we have to get through?
there's only 4 more things. We could get through them quick. The Washington football team has a new name. It's the Commanders. What do you think, Matt?
Ooh. Boring as shit, but fine. It's fine.
I also, like, what's with the fucking logo? They're like, we're too lazy to change it, so we're just gonna put lines through it.
Yeah.
We're gonna. Do you know the Little Mac skin from Super Smash Bros? I mean, I know it's from his old game, but like, I forget what it's called. Like, it's like the grid pattern. Like, they basically just did that to the W logo.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's not. It's nothing to write home about. I like the uniforms. I think the black uniforms are kind of cool with the the red borders.
Yeah,
but it's just I was also maybe just really looking forward to calling this team the Hogs an entire season.
yeah. I didn't want to get my hopes up too high on that.
Yeah, we could call them the Commies if we really want to.
Yes. Oh, I'm down for that. I also I love that I love that this is like the landing spot for this, so it just makes Washington DC like the most boring fucking town in terms of team names. The only interesting one was fucking Wizards,
Yeah,
I kind of like
Wizards.
that. And the Mystic, I guess,
Mystic
too.
Are cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Basketball's fun.
Basketball is fun. The rest of the sports are Commanders,
the Nationals, and the Commanders,
and the Capitals,
because that makes sense. We're the capital, so we're the Capitals.
It's not great.
What's fucking Ottawa's team? The Senators.
Yes,
kind of the same bullshit.
Yeah.
Although that's got a bit of a Greek or Roman aesthetic to it, so that's at least something.
That's nice. That's a better way to go about it, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's that. I do want to touch on the head coaching cycle.
Let's do it.
Brian Daboll is the Giants head coach, and obviously the circumstances around his hire are now very much in the spotlight. But I think I do like the hire.
Yeah, me too.
As someone who has no good answers for what the Giants should do next, I think
not have Daniel Jones play.
Well, Well, that's the thing, though. I think that they're going to have him play, and I'm okay with that. Like, I think in the grand scheme of things, like, a lot of the problems last year were the fact that he had a lot of his weapons injured, and he himself got injured at the end of the year. But he had his moments of like, oh, he actually is this athletic guy. Like we've seen that before, and we've seen the turnaround that Daboll did with Josh Allen. Maybe he could do something like that with Daniel Jones. I don't know. I don't know what the question's going to be in terms of whether or not you pick up his 5th-year option or not. But it's at this point where I'm like, I don't have any firm opinions about the Giants. I just want them to be fun. That's really where I'm at with it. Mm-hmm. And I think that with Daboll as a head coach, they hired I forget his name. I think it's Mike Kafka, who is the quarterback coach for Patrick Mahomes, as the offensive coordinator. Although I'm not a big fan of his Twitter avatar because it looks like he's a crypto bro.
Good.
But I guess we'll put that aside for now. I think they kept Patrick Graham as defensive coordinator, which is great. I think that he's done a great job as a defensive coordinator. I think a lot of the players on that team really, really like him, and I think that really is what matters. If you like the guy, keep him around. And so I'm a fan of the hire, man. It's the highest I think I've been on a hire in a while, but we'll see. We'll see kind of how it unfolds. Any thoughts from your point of view from it?
Nothing else that you didn't really touch on.
Yeah. Let's talk about Josh McDaniels going and being hired by the Raiders.
Rescind your offer again. Do it. It'd be the funniest shit ever.
Even after the press conference and everything, they're just like, yeah, I'm good. Thanks, guys. Yeah. He McDaniels and Dave Ziegler, who both of them were with the Patriots last year, came over to the Raiders. Yeah, McDaniels has a history, man. He obviously the most recent thing was the Colts rescinding that offer after the Colts sent out a big old graphics package saying, "Oh yeah, you're our head coach." They ended up with Frank Reich, which ended up not working out.
Yes, no, actually, maybe better.
But he was the head coach of the Broncos in the Tebow era, and there was a videotaping scandal associated with the Broncos with that. There was the immaturity, I think, generally that he showed as a head coach. His team completely collapsed at the end of his first season and was really bad. His second season, he got fired in the middle of the second season.
Yeah. See, like, this seems like that kind of hire that just doesn't make sense, and it's more like what he's done. Well, no, that's a weird way to word that. They're great offensive coordinator, obviously, but hasn't been like the best since Brady left. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, and I think I think I don't know how much what he did. You have to say that, like, what he did with the Patriots this year and getting Mac Jones set up, it's hard not to sit here and be like that's not something that he did. Like, I think he definitely played a part of it. We'll see kind of how it ends up working out. I think what's going to matter here is who ends up getting the defensive coordinator position, because it's always like, whatever the head coach is, whatever their specialty is, who's the coordinator that's going to handle the other side of the ball is always like the big question for any of these head coaching hires, unless you're a special teams coordinator like Joe Judge, and then it's like, who the fucking knows? But with McDaniels, I think he talked about how he matured from then. He said that he's learned a lot. All you could do is take from his word at this point. And I also just think it's very ironic that the Raiders are pulling from the Patriots organization, given the fucking hatred that the Raiders have for the Patriots. And that Mark Davis actually joked during the press conference that Josh Daniels revealed that, yes, in fact, that tuck rule thing was a fumble. So he sided with the Raiders on that one, because of course he did. All right, and then the Vikings. Vikings hired Kevin O'Connell as the Rams offensive coordinator, which, fine. I don't have much to say about this guy. I feel like Sean McVay is the one that does the offensive stuff, but if Kevin O'Connell is a good coach, who knows? We'll see. But what I want to talk about is that Jim Harbaugh came very, very close to being the head coach.
Hell yeah.
It turned out that the Vikings did not extend an offer to him after being in the room, but Harbaugh reportedly thought he had the job, and did not work out. And he's back in Michigan, and he will be there for the 2022 season.
That's the most Harbaugh thing to ever happen.
He's so confident. It's like, I'm going to get this job.
There was the joke, like, when Antonio Brown got cut. It was like, Antonio Brown has agreed to sign with the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens, however, did not agree. Feels like that.
Pretty much, yeah. That's what Jim Harbaugh, I should say,
Jim Harbaugh
went through.
Hold on, sidetrack. There was another thing. Like, there was this weird, like, Twitter bot that was, like, kept replying to people with some weird information, implying that Jim Harbaugh coached in Baltimore. And I don't think people caught up that this was a bot just tweeting out random stats and shit.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, and speaking of Baltimore, like, one of the reasons why people thought that Jim Harbaugh was no longer going to be the coach of Michigan was the fact that his defensive coordinator, who did a great job getting that team to the playoffs this year, ended up signing on with the Ravens and with John Harbaugh. And so it felt like, okay, maybe that's what's going to be happening, and maybe the Jim Harbaugh's gone. But turns out that was not the case. So Harbaugh stays in the college level for now. Former San Francisco 49ers head coach, if anyone's curious. But yeah, any thoughts on Kevin O'Connell?
I mean, it feels like that like McVay coaching tree trend that happened a few years ago, but
yeah. I mean, it worked out for the Bengals, right?
It did. At this point, yes. Not immediately.
Right. Yeah, like, it worked out for them. And in a way, like, Matt LaFleur, I feel like, came from the McVay tree.
He did. Yep.
You know, so, like, I mean, hey,
it'll work out.
Maybe it will work out. Who knows? But right now, I just have no opinion. I feel like a lot of the offensive stuff with the Rams is Sean McVay. Yeah. So it's just like, they're a good offense. So
sure, fine, let's do it. That's how it feels.
Yeah, like, all right, why not?
Yeah.
It's a change of pace. I mean, because you had a defensive coach in Zimmer, and you have now this younger guy that's an offensive guy, and we'll see. All right, that was an hour long. There's a lot of news to cover, but we got a lot more coming here. We are going to take a short break for some ads, but when we come back, we're going to be joined by Walsh, and we're going to talk the greatest movie of 2022 thus far, Home Team. Stay with us. It has been 2 years since we started Team Chaos Productions, and we would not be where we are today without the help of Anchor. You've heard us talk about it all the time, but let me remind you, this completely free platform gives creators the tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast from your computer or phone. Once done, Anchor will distribute your podcast to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more so you don't have to. You can also make some money on the episodes with no minimum listenership. It's everything you'd ever want in a podcasting platform, so download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Happy podcasting.
Sick of talking about video games with people who just want to be toxic? Me too. So join us over at the Gaming Coop. We come together each month to talk about what we love about video games. Discussion topics range from our favorite soundtracks to the best relationships between characters. We also have some fun segments in which we play some trivia or build our school of gaming. Find us on Anchor or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Game on!
And we are back, and it is time to talk about Home Team. But it's not just going to be the two of us. We are joined by none other than the Dungeon Master himself, Walsh.
Hi.
How you doing?
Hey, Walsh.
All right, I need all of you to roll a saving throw.
Oh no.
Okay.
What do I add? Like, what kind of saving throw?
It's going to probably... What would you guys say after watching this movie? What saving throw?
Constitution.
Constitution? Is it Constitution? Is it a Wisdom saving throw? Yeah, you know what? Actually, I think with some of the things that happen in this movie, it's going to be a Constitution saving throw.
Okay. I have a 0 in Constitution. Oh, that's the wrong command. I rolled a 12. Okay, that's all right.
We're going along with this bit. All right. Oh no, that's a 2.
Chris. Oh, Chris. I'm sorry, Chris, but that throw up scene is really not sitting well.
It's okay, Matt. I asked Chris at the very start of this podcast if he wanted a power log.
Yeah. Yeah. I forgot that's what they were called too up until that moment. It was very traumatizing.
How you guys doing? What'd you guys think of the movie Home Team?
Yeah, I let me set it up like this. So, for those who are still who have not been listening to the podcast a few times, we talked about it. Home Team is the comedy film that is based off of the true story about Saints head coach Sean Payton, now former Saints head coach Sean Payton, because he has retired at least temporarily from the league. It was about the time in 2012 where he got suspended for a full year because of Bountygate, which was a scandal that revolved around his defensive coordinator, Greg Williams, and how Greg Williams was paying the defensive players to injure the other team. Because it's Sean Payton's team, ultimately he had to take the fall for it, so he ended up being suspended for an entire year because of that. He went back home, I guess, to his son's football team and got signed up to be the offensive coordinator. True story. And there's parts of this story, of this movie, that are true, but just like any glorification in Hollywood, there's also a lot of it that's just made up, and especially for a Kevin James film, yes, a lot of it was made up. Matt, I want your opinion first on this.
Mine?
Yes, hit me with it.
Okay. So I am an avid fan of Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, and this wasn't quite the same level of like what the fuck is happening that movie was, but there was still a lot of there was still a lot of Kevin James-esque humor in it, masked by this is a wholesome family football film with actual emotions and actual stakes that for some reason didn't feel out of place. They actually did a good job at not making those emotional moments out of place, despite all the dumb humor. Early on in the movie, I realized that I had laughed twice.
Yes.
So I decided to make a list of all the times that I laughed in the movie.
Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the list is 8 items long.
Okay.
So I can get into that later.
Sure.
Or right now, depending on what order you want to do things. But
we'll save it for now. We'll keep them waiting. Keep them hanging.
But I just want you to know, I laughed 8 times throughout the movie, for better or for worse.
Okay, fair enough. Do you want me to go first, Walsh, or do you want to go next?
Well, how do we want to do this? Are we just going through the whole film? Are we? Because I wrote an essay.
So
I took extensive notes.
Yeah, so we'll work our way through the movie, but I wouldn't want just initial, first blush your feelings after watching it. And you were just coming off the movie, by the way. You said to me before you jumped on call with us that you were just wrapping up the film, so you are fresh out of this.
Yes.
So yeah, hit me with your reaction with it.
Sure. It is most definitely an Adam Sandler movie, his production company.
Yep.
I am really surprised by how, I guess, straight they made Sean Payton, but, that I feel like they wouldn't approve it unless. So I felt like they were constantly throwing absolutely, maybe not insane, characters, but just characters that what the fuck am I looking at, to make Sean Payton look better.
That's a really good way of putting that.
Yeah.
And you then get that Adam Sandler wackiness from all of these side characters, rather than it often being the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I was expecting a lot more stupid humor, but I guess, them having it based on a true story and actually having it based on real people, they wanted to at least keep those characters pretty serious. But then there's also things I think I was surprised by, I was going to say some of the people that they got in. I was more surprised Taylor Lautner was in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, and for like such a large part of it too.
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually surprised by how much.
Arguably the second main character.
Yeah, and I was kind of surprised by how good the movie was otherwise.
Yeah,
but we can get to that.
It was fine. Like
it was fine.
Yeah.
It was fun. I guess my expectations were very, very low.
Yeah,
and they went above that.
Yeah, I laughed twice. I did not document the amount of times I laughed, but I laughed for sure twice. Maybe a chuckle here and there, a chortle. But
yeah,
I laughed at things that I probably should not have been laughing at.
Yes. That it was both times that I wrote down that I laughed. Or not, I didn't write it down. I'm not mad. I did not write it down. But the two times that I remember laughing were moments that probably were not as funny as they should have been. But to me, it was definitely one moment, and we'll get to that. Yeah, I think you guys said it best, and I'm not as I can't go as it's hard for me to go deep into the analysis of this, but it was just there was a lot of moments of me being like why make this decision, why do that decision. Like there was a lot of moments and I ultimately the answer is because it's Kevin James and Adam Sandler, like that,
right,
like that's what their brand is. I didn't really love the story. Like it was like I didn't love any of it really. Like I think I'm pretty low on this as a whole, but like it was bearable. I actually watched this with my mom, who likes Kevin James from his time on King of Queens, which I guess I could give credit. Like that was a fine film. That was a fine sitcom. You know, like that wasn't a terrible sitcom. Yeah. But everything since then has been utter trash, and she acknowledges that. But I think we both me and my mom walked away from this being like, it was fine. Like it wasn't the worst thing in the world. It's sure for some people it will get them through it. There is the one scene in particular that I was just like, I want to die at this moment. But I think, and we already kind of addressed it, but we'll talk about it further later. But I overall would say it was fine, but I just not enthused by the whole thing. So yeah, go ahead, Walsh.
If you cut this down, if you cut this movie down to just plot things and not all of the strange, weird subplots going on, this movie would have been half as long.
Right, and
also true. Yep.
Yeah, it would have been like a 30-minute, I don't know, Lifetime special or something. Like I don't know, and it would have been fine. Yeah. I feel like Kevin James. I feel like he tends to play like absurd characters. And, like, this is the one time where I did feel like Kevin James, like, he was a lot, like you said, Walsh, like, he was the straighter character, overall, that kind of, it was more the absurdity around him that kind of stood out. So I think that was what I was most disappointed by, was that Kevin James was not as much of an idiot as I thought he would be in this film. But I get it. Sean Payton, you know, I guess you don't.
He's a real person.
It's a real person. You don't want to defame him in this sense. So let's get into it. I want to start. Yeah, so we're gonna maybe go scene by scene, but you know we'll skip around. I want to start from the very top because what is so funny to me.
No, I want to start before the movie. When I started this movie, Netflix said it was the number 6 in US today.
Oh man. Is that why you came on call and said that you were proud to be an American?
No, I just all the football. Oh my god, really Texas. Just Texas. Sorry, go on though.
No. So yeah, so that's a very good thing to point out. So that just shows the demographic, and they know what they want. They know what they're selling. The shot of Super Bowl 44. And they're showing the shots of the actual game that was played, and the fucking placing Kevin James in that moment is so funny.
It is surreal almost.
Yeah, like it was. I didn't laugh at it, but I just watched like in just awe of them.
It was in amazement.
Yeah, of like a juxtaposed. I don't know how I'm not pronouncing that right, but the just like that him just being placed into that moment in time. because that was the Saints only Super Bowl with Peyton, and that was such a big moment. Poor Jim Nantz ended up getting put guy on that stage and having to say, like, I had faith in you. Like, that whole scene was just very weird. I was just weirded out by that.
And they will continue with this extremely awkward dialogue that isn't even like the awkwardness makes it funny. It is just like dialogue almost just to have dialogue.
Yeah, like
and then they just keep going with it in a lot of times throughout this movie.
There's the moments that they should have maybe been a yes and there wasn't. You know what I mean? Like
it was a yes.
It was just like, okay, like it was a lot of that, which I get that they had to play Sean Payton a little bit more straight, but it would have been funny if I feel like I would have laughed more if Kevin James was just all in on like Jim Nantz believing in him. Like I feel like that would have been something funny about that. By the way, Matt, there's a lot of or Walsh, there's a lot of sports cameos in this film. Jim Nantz was the first one. That is the lead broadcaster of the CBS Super Bowls. So then we get to the scene that that I think when we first saw the trailer, Matt, you said that this was the only funny line in the whole trailer.
Yes.
So it's Sean Payton in his office, and his assistant comes in. It says that there was Roger Goodall on the phone.
Goodall
on the phone, and then Sean Payton's like the commissioner, and then the assistant was just like, he didn't tell me what his position, what his job was, which, yes, was arguably funny. There's a Juicy Fruit product placement there.
I was gonna say, guys, I was really, like, I don't know what it was, but I really wanted some gum in that moment.
yeah, they really wanted to, like, prop up the Juicy Fruit branding there. And then it cuts to like this sequence of like him walking out of the stadium and the media reports that were kind of happening at the time about Bounty Gate. It was that they cut to that moment of him basically leaving the facility, that knowing that he was suspended for an entire year. He then it cuts to him in his house, and this is so fucking funny to me. But the fact that he was in his full coaching gear still, just sitting in his home on the phone, I don't know why tickled me. Did not laugh at that moment either, but it was just so stupid. And he's listening to Stephen A. Smith on the TV screen going off about it. I think that was an old clip. But
yeah.
One thing that I picked up from this moment was he screamed into the phone to his agent, I guess, "Do your job," and threw the phone. And I was just like, okay, of course they fucking pull a "do your job" in there. Because Patriots. And then he then I think the next scene is he then goes to the hotel room, the motel, for the first time.
Yes.
And this is when we get to meet the front desk guy, who I forget the name of already.
Eric.
Eric.
Thank you. I'm glad that you guys remembered. So Eric is interesting. He is not.
I think Eric occupies the same level of level of humor as Lenny from The Simpsons.
Yes.
In where the funny bit about him is how uninteresting he is.
Right. No, that's I think that is a valid point.
But then he's just doing fucking ridiculous things. And,
yes.
And I think the thing that really gets me is that, like, awkward conversation can be funny if it is done the right way. And it is just, like, so painful to listen to them talk to each other. And what was it? I think he came in and the whole time. You know what? No. I'm getting confused with later on, because later on he'll just be doing the most random fucking shit.
Yes, it's a constant. I wrote down quite a few of them. I forget if he was really doing anything in particular here, but like he was.
I don't think so, but
yeah, he was. It was just like a check-in thing. It was a weird, awkward conversation about it. But he gets in his hotel room. Then he drives into the parking lot of the football team, and it's his son's football team competing, and it's they're clearly getting their ass kicked. You get the first shot of the kid who is the kicker, who is getting psyched out and is hitting and kicking the ball into the butt of the center. and the kids screaming "ow my butthole" because they did that multiple times in the film. And then
with the same delivery every time, it felt like
I think they just
could have been the same voice clip.
I was gonna say I think they just pulled that voice clip and it's like the my leg, but like they did that for that the
guys.
whole film.
This is a movie with the Wilhelm scream in it.
That's true. There was the Wilhelm scream.
I forgot
Yep,
about that.
I would not. It would not be against them to just use the same clip, but.
I think that this is the one where you meet Sean Payton's ex-wife, and you also meet
Rob Schneider.
Rob Schneider's character, Jamie.
We can just call him Rob Schneider, please.
Yeah, let's just do Rob Schneider.
Yeah.
We meet them in Snuggie formation. And that was it. I mean, that was really that was that scene. That was fine.
Yeah.
Guys, other than I guess slight spoilers, other than poisoning an entire group of children, surprisingly, Rob Schneider is one of the best characters in this film.
Oh, I could not disagree more.
I did absolutely disagree.
I can't wait to get to it
because there is. I'll just say, like, he is. He's just like he literally they just were like, what if we just made him vegan and annoying, and that was it. That's all they did.
That's his character.
That's his character.
Yeah.
So then it cuts to what I would say is the first of the weird Eric shit, where you get the jacuzzi was in Sean Payne's room was kind of acting up and was being very loud, so Payne called down to the reception, and the guy's just there cracking the shell of hard-boiled eggs.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, when you work at a hotel, you got to keep yourself busy somehow.
He's just fucking playing with eggs. And, like, we then see he accidentally cracks one that isn't hard-boiled near the end of the conversation. So that implies that, like, I don't even know what that implies. I don't know. I wrote down, like, what the fuck is going on in this hotel? And spoilers, the fucking jacuzzi shit, yeah, that'll keep happening. But you can bet it does fucking nothing to move the story along.
Right.
It's an inconvenience, literally for inconvenience sake. Just to laugh at Kevin James.
Yeah, and I think it happens one more time, and like very soon after that, and like the guy's doing like a Connect 4. Like they just keep on giving him these weird tasks. I guess that they think that's gonna bring laughs. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
I kept on writing down throughout this that one thing I was not expecting about this film was the sad divorced dad energy. Was not expecting that with this film. But here we are. And you get that with, like, these signs of, like, how the Connor, Payne's son, is very much, like, holds it against his dad that he was away coaching football for so long and that he hasn't been spending time with him at all. And, you know, and all that. And by the way, like, if we're going to go back to reality, I did not realize that they were divorced at that point, but I don't they were very recently divorced, so it's weird to me to think that the son has been away from his son. It would be weird for me to think that Payne had been away from his son for that long, for the son to have that much animosity. I guess that could happen, but it was just very weird in terms of the story. That I was just kind of like, really, is Sean Payne just like revealing to us that he had a shitty relationship with his son in this film? I guess I don't know.
Maybe it is because I only know this story within this movie.
Yeah,
you know. But I was like, oh, you know, he hasn't, you know, he's been in fucking New Orleans, fucking like working nonstop. I'm sure he barely ever goes to see his family, at least in this universe. I don't know,
right?
Real life. But I will say that was one of the only like plot threads that I was really enjoying. And that it will come to get its comeuppance, but
yeah. I think I think the film then goes into the football, goes into the coaching elements of it next, because basically Sean Payne gets sick and tired of watching his son's shitty football team, so he decides to insert himself into the equation. And how he does that is that he causes a distraction of some kind, where he throws his visor, And Mitch Bizone, who's played by Gary Valentine, aka Kevin James's real life brother. And
I did not know this.
Yes,
that makes this better.
Yes, and I would say that this guy is the character that the film wants to be comic relief, but just isn't. In my mind.
Yeah.
Every second he is on screen, it hurts me.
Yeah. But I will say, I think one of my like chuckle moments when Sean Payne says, "Oh, like someone threw my visor," even though Sean Payne was the one that threw his own visor.
Right.
Someone threw my visor, and the guy goes, "I'll snap his neck." I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
Well, because they had already been making fun of this guy. He's the like assistant coach. And the kids have joked like, oh yeah, he lost his driver's license 4 years ago, and now like such dry humor, but then such like potty humor at the same time too. Of like, he bikes to the practice every day now, but he only got that bike because the kid next door died. Like,
I forgot about that.
And then later on, like, his strange, like, plot line with his bike and how his chain breaks and shit, and how the kids will eventually, like, because he doesn't have a kickstand, so the kids will help him with that. So fucking, like, he does not need to be here. 90% of the characters do not need to be here.
Gary Valentine, as a character, or as an actor, I guess, has not been doing well. He's like, all right, brother, I need to mooch on you. I gotta be part of your film in some capacity, and I think that's what they ended up doing. Because it actually felt like what. That's the thing that I think I confused myself the most. I understand that Taylor Lautner was the head coach. What fucking role was Gary Valentine in this?
Assistant coach. Small
they
school.
said assistant coach.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's there's some. It's a weird. I feel like he never gets involved in anything with the football. He's just there. He just exists.
Yeah.
So he goes down there, and he draws up a play that ultimately ends up in a touchdown. They do a little dance saying they got a touchdown. The other team's very confused because they absolutely destroyed them. But there is something that they established early on where, like, if the one team scores enough points, they turn off the scoreboard at some point as part of like a mercy rule. But in this instance, they lost the game, but they kept the scoreboard on because they at least scored a touchdown, and that made them happy.
Yeah.
And then Taylor Lautner invites Kevin James, or I think Kevin James is in the bar already, and Taylor Lautner comes in, and the two of them talk, and Taylor Lautner says, like, hey, coach my team. be my offensive coordinator, please. He initially was hesitant about this because he felt like he didn't want to, like, overstep his boundaries, even though he very clearly did, where he threw his visor onto the fucking football field to insert himself into the situation, but I digress. And he's like, all right, yeah, sure, I'll coach. The next scene is another scene with Eric where there are no bagels left. Okay? But please, I would love help from you guys on this, because I cannot even wrap my mind around this whole fucking thing. It literally is an entire scene dedicated to them talking about how he does not have bagels there, but he really needs a place to put his jelly. So Sean Payton comes down, enters the breakfast area, right, where there's the bagel bonanza, but there's no bagels. And he already prepared some jelly to fucking spread on it, right? So he goes up to the front counter, and he sees Eric munching on a fucking bagel. And he's like, you have any more bagels? No more bagels. What about those over there? And he sees just, like, 4 or 5 bagels in, like, a Ziploc bag behind him. He's like, oh, those are for my wife. She's pregnant. And so Sean asks, is it your first? Implying child. He's like, no, this is my third. I've been nibbling on bagels all morning. It's like, God damn it.
So we have established now that this fucking waste of space human being is a father.
Wow.
and that he, so he's like, oh, no, my first kid. And he's like, well, what am I supposed to spread my jelly on now? He's like, I don't know, the hard-boiled egg over there. It's like, I asked for the worst thing. I asked for something, not the worst thing. You didn't ask for the best. I don't know where, like, this dialogue is not funny.
It's not.
It is so... And I think what's making it funny is the pain in my voice.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Recalling it.
Yeah.
It was a scene that, like, it reminds me of every SNL sketch that nowadays, that it goes on way too long. And it's just ridiculous. And I think that the purpose of the scene was like, hey, I need to photocopy this game plan.
Oh my god, I fucking completely forgot he did that.
Yes. Like, that was a footnote. And a important footnote, but a footnote in a scene that was otherwise just about establishing Eric's wife. Again, a character that has really no use other than just to be a fucking weirdo.
Yeah.
Then we get a scene in the house of Connor with Rob Schneider. And Rob Schneider is doing some sort of weird meditation. And I don't know, there's multiple times where Rob Schneider basically starts to talk about stories of him, like, having orgies and stuff. At least that's what was being implied, I think. But they did...
At this part, yeah.
Yeah. And Connor, like the rest of us, is like, you know what? I'd rather sit in a car with Kevin James, and leaves.
No. That's not what happens. No, Connor's like, well, because Connor's just fucking like, Jamie is his name, but we'll keep saying Rob Schneider. Rob Schneider is just chilling. He's like, this is meditation. We could meditate too if you want. And the mom, like, we just don't see the mom do anything.
Right.
And I guess I can't hold that against him, but out of, like, I currently see Rob Schneider is at least, like, trying here. He's, like, talking about how it's good to, like, talk about your feelings and, like, be aware of those things. And he starts telling a story, and then the mom's like, oh, don't tell that story. He's too young to hear that story, which... Okay, haha, it was probably something inappropriate.
Right.
And then, he gets upset because the mom's like, Sean Payton, NFL coach, is coming to pick you up. He's like, no, he gives sad divorced dad energy. I don't want to be in a car with him. So then Rob Schneider makes a point to tell a story that he's like, oh, I remember one time I was in a bathhouse with like 10 sumo wrestlers, and he starts to retell that story in order to push Connor to go spend time with his father.
I completely forgot what that. I didn't even hear those details because I was just tuning Rob Schneider out.
I do not blame you. You know what? Rob Schneider has probably been unfunny a majority of the time, and he was not funny here. But yeah. Or even earlier, like, he is this, like, vegan guy, but he, like, is, like, kind of self-aware, too. Like, he jokes about, like, taking the kids to, like, some vegan ice cream place. But he jokes, too, like, yeah, it tastes like ice cream if you've never had ice cream before. It'll probably close in, like, a week, but let's go try it anyway.
Here's the thing, Walsh. I don't think he was joking. Like, I think that was his actual pitch. Like, that's the problem.
Okay.
That's just me, though. That's how I was interpreting it. Yeah, and then we get sad times with Sean in the car, and him trying to mend fences with his son, and he tells him that he's now coaching the team, and I couldn't, like, there was no, like, escalation of this, I feel like, if I remember correctly. Like, wasn't it, like, that he just was just, like, the son kind of, like, looked at him weird and was, like, kind of surprised, but, like, didn't really have, like, a formal, like, angry or annoyed reaction. It was just like, okay.
Yeah, that's kind of it.
That was it, which I was kind of expecting more there. And then we get to, there is a moment at the practice. I wrote down assassination bit. Does anyone remember the sequence that happens here?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay.
Unless, Matt, you do and you want to take it.
No, I don't.
So, they introduce Sean Payton as... because they're like, oh my god, he's going to be a coach, because all the kids are very excited to have they've been kind of losing, and to have an NFL coach, now they're going to be champions, right? And they're excited about that, but they're like, listen, he's going to be the, offensive, whatever they call him? Offensive coordinator, yeah. And then Mitch, the assistant coach, has to make it a point. Sean Payton is the third guy in line. Okay,
yes.
He's the third guy in line. If anything happens to Coach Troy, which is Taylor Lautner's character, then he's like the president and I'm the vice president. If anything happens to him, if he's assassinated, I become president. All right? And then Coach Payton would become vice president. Just really trying to establish that he is not wasting space in this movie.
Pretty much.
He very clearly is.
Yeah.
And then the kids are like, what if both of you get assassinated? And they're like, all right, let's go.
And so then we have like a practice scene, and then they get their playbooks. Nothing really interesting I think happens during these points. At one point, a kid is in the playbook, and they one of the copies is a bagel. Ha ha ha. And then
they do establish here that the kid can kick a field goal fine, but he keeps fucking up during the games. And the other thing that I've noticed here, that I noticed throughout the rest of the movie, and I don't know if you guys saw this, but I thought it was most apparent here just because of the way that they kept switching between shots. Some of the shots have this strange filter or dark gradient around the corners.
Mm.
And it is this kind of shot to make everything in the, around the sides of the screen kind of darker so you focus in on what's in the middle. But it was especially during when he was doing, the kick, it just switched between two shots as if, one camera just had this filter on and the other one didn't. And they keep doing that throughout the whole movie.
Interesting. I did not notice that at all.
It is a very... very strange thing. Now, it is also around this point, it was a little bit before this, but I watched this movie in 2 sessions. One was very late at night last night, and then I finished it today. But last night, after falling asleep, I had a very strange dream. And I'd like to ask if you guys would like to hear that dream now, or at the end.
I'm down. You can do it now, if you want.
Yeah, let's do it now.
I had a dream that I was watching this movie, and Eric, the hotel guy, had a boyfriend, and this was before the bagel scene.
Sure.
So he had a boyfriend, and that boyfriend bred monkeys, and that these monkeys knew how to drive. And then for some reason, I remembered a clip where Kevin James, Eric, the monkey, and Michelangelo and Raphael, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, were strapped into a moon rover, and they had to bust through a guard railing and crash into a lake or a river, and the monkey was driving.
We'll say.
And I remember just, after seeing that clip of the movie, just being like, yeah, based on a true story.
Will say would rather watch that than this. I feel like that would have been a lot more entertaining overall.
That if this was not based on a true story, that is the direction this this Adam Sandler movie would have gone.
I also think that when the first time they cut to the jacuzzi making the weird noises, I swear I thought the movie was gonna go supernatural. And I can only imagine that's where the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles end up coming to fruition. They just come out, they just swim out of that drain. They're like, "Yo, what up, Sean Payton? Let's go on a ride, get some pizza."
I don't know where they came from. I don't know where they came from. I don't know where the monkeys came from. I remember Eric's boyfriend would give each monkey a little kiss on the lips every time that he said hello to them because they were good little monkeys. I don't know.
Jesus
But
Christ.
You can bet they drove a moon rover. And sorry,
it's
so
a lot.
Strange.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So then we get to we get to
back to the movie.
Yeah, we have a lot. Yeah. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit. So there's a scene. They have their next game. Oh, no, we could save that. So they have the next game, and this kid named Dennis is is about to be tackled, and he ends up just like moving out of the way because or rather, I'm sorry, he's on defense.
He was about to tackle someone.
Yeah, he was about to tackle someone, but he doesn't like contact, so he just runs off the field, and Kevin James or Sean Payton is just like, it's football. You gotta tackle. And so what he does, he ends up moving Dennis to fullback, and he actually ends up moving a few different positions here. And Taylor Lautner, who, I'm gonna be real, like he was a nothing burger in this film too. I know that he was like he served the role that he did, but to me he had so many moments where he pushed back a little bit on what Kevin James was doing, but then was just like fine with it after the fact. Like there was never really a build up with Taylor Lautner. There's no moment for him that he really shined.
There was one.
Oh yeah,
I can think of one good really good line that he had that I'll talk about later.
Yeah, it was even though Taylor Lautner is the head coach, they just really let Sean Payton do whatever the fuck he wants.
Yeah,
and I was just thinking like he should really at least be like running this by the head coach and like working with him, not just like coming in and like, hey, last night I made up all of these plays and this playbook and I want the kids to study, and then just like completely changing everything. And he's kind of just accepting that help because he knows the kids need it.
Right. But yeah,
at the same time, it's like he does not respect him as the coach at all. And you would hope that eventually that comes back around, and it doesn't really.
No, it doesn't. There is a build up here, but it's a build up and not in that direction. Like there's no like confrontation with the coaches necessarily. It's just it's more of a confrontation with like the kids themselves, and we'll get to that. Yeah. So it's established here that the kicker is actually distracted by a girl he has a crush on. In the stands, and that he keeps on looking at her. He doesn't want to be embarrassed, and then instead he ends up just kicking the center in the butt constantly, and you get the same sound clip of the butthole thing.
You know what? I wrote down the second because he's looking at like the girl that he likes, and the girl's sitting with her mom, and the mom's like,
oh my god,
her armpits.
Yes.
And I wrote down, yeah, this is an Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah, the mom is just the strangest sideshow in this entire film. Because she just, like, obviously the idea is that you as the audience is supposed to be looking at the girl, but the mom is just doing the most bizarre shit. Like, at one point, she was, like, putting on, like, lipstick, and then, like, I think that she, like, tasted the lipstick or something like that. Like she actually like put it in her mouth or something. There's something weird that she did there. You're like, I
think what? I missed that one.
Yeah, there was a few moments that if you looked over at her, she was just weird. She was just a strange character, and it's just like, all right, they just threw that in there. So then they, in order to help explain what the fuck they're supposed to do, because no one's understanding the playbook, they actually go to a restaurant where they go over the plays using food, and this was a scene, and that's about it. There's really nothing interesting here. It was like, they're using food, and haha, one of the football players accidentally eats one of the chips while they're trying to explain the food plays. And then you have...
Oh, and the parents are getting upset too because he's moving people around.
That's right.
Immediately fucking winning.
Yeah, the parents are getting uneasy about it. And then you have I wrote down here, sad dad asked to coach Cowboys, which was a scene where essentially Connor asks Sean Payton, like, hey, why don't you just coach the Cowboys? Like, it would mean that you're closer to us. And he's like, well, son, it's because the Cowboys already have a coach. And it was like, I don't know. There's something about this scene that I was just like, this is such a weird thing to lead into.
It's not like we talk about that divorced dad energy in any other occupation. Like, it's like, oh, why can't you work at this office that's closer?
Right.
Or why can't you teach at this school that's this far away? No, he's a fucking NFL head coach.
Well,
So you can't
this
just...
is so...
There's a disconnect there.
Yeah.
Okay, but from my point of view, when I'm not like big in the NFL area.
Sure.
I had a few takeaways of one, like, bro, you won the Super Bowl. Just fucking like retire. Like, is that like the fucking like height, or just like oh, I gotta get back to the NFL. It's like, just fucking like relax. Like, you did it.
You still gotta make money though.
Yeah, but then, I don't know. And then when the kid asks, he's like, I don't know anything about you, so he asks him questions, and one of them was about the Bounty Gate thing.
Yes.
And Kevin James was like, oh, well, it's complicated, but, I gotta take responsibility.
Yeah.
And from me, who knows nothing about the situation,
Sure.
that was, oh, he did it. He is a guilty man. I don't know anything, but he 100% did it, and that is the only time they are actually ever going to talk about it. And this guy is probably really shitty, and that he probably did place bounties on players' heads, but we're going to focus on him teaching his middle school son how to play football and win the game.
This was Sean. This was real life Sean Payton's like O.J. Simpson moment of if I did it. Like this is him inserting like yeah, it's maybe I didn't do it.
So
it's
then I have to ask, and I looked up a little bit about like what was real about the movie, what was different, and I think you guys said it a little bit.
Yeah.
So he didn't. Somebody else on the team kind of did, but then he still takes the responsibility for it?
His defensive coordinator, so the guy in charge of the defense, did it. But Sean Payton was the head coach, so he still had to take a fall for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the story, at least. I mean, who knows?
Right.
Maybe he actually was doing it, but he took the fall because he's the head coach. And
we have missed a couple important characters here.
Sure. Hit me with it.
One of them, I think at this point we talked about Dennis, and how he, he doesn't want to come into contact. But right after that game, Dennis's mom approaches Sean Payton.
I skipped over that because I was going to return to it. But yes, you can establish it here. And
she talks about how Dennis, like, be tough on him. I want him to toughen up. And she shares a lot. Like, his father's out of the picture. And she's coming on to him hard.
Yes,
and she invites him
very
over
aggressively.
She invites him over for dinner, but then the movie cuts to the next day. So then I, the audience, am left to think, oh, I guess he just went over to Dennis's house for dinner and fucked his mom.
No,
which did not happen. But I'm just like,
not led to that conclusion myself.
Because he's like, oh, okay, that would be nice. Yeah, gumbo, whatever. And I genuinely thought that was going to be...
Yeah, it was like weird timing-wise. So it wasn't like, oh, in a few days. Like, it was said tonight, and it was just like...
And I can't believe you guys missed the most important character. Gus, the bus driver.
Yeah, I skipped over him, too, by accident.
Yeah, I didn't care about him that much.
Dude, Gus, oh my god, when he's like, oh man, I remember when I played football, and I was playing football in '86, and I was the quarterback, and I caught a touchdown. Oh, I stopped a touchdown, and I helped a woman give birth, and I saved my mom from a heart attack. And that's not an exaggeration. He says like all of those things.
Yeah,
he does.
And all I wrote down, because he's talking about this, just turning around while he's driving the bus, and all I thought was like, these children are going to die. There's going to be a bus crash.
Yeah, I skipped over him because he had that, he filled that spot. That, here's the thing. He filled the spot that I think that Gary Valentine already filled of just absurd old man. But they kind of like worked off of each other, but it was again one of those strange subplots that you're like, why does this need to be a thing?
They added a second crazy comedic old man.
Yes,
that is not funny.
Yeah.
And then. And I'm like, oh man, when Mitch and Gus are just on screen talking, that's the funniest. The movie is at its funniest.
Also earlier, there was a scene where the center, I'm gonna forget his name, but the center,
Paulie.
Billy, was it?
Paulie.
Oh.
With a P.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Paulie.
Paulie, he ends up he was caught calling in pizza for later in the practice, but then this is a few days later. But the next scene, they're in a game and there's the Polly looks over and there's a pizza delivery guy like trying to like signal for him for the money, and Taylor Lautner tries to get his attention. I don't know why, but this was the first laugh of this film for me. I don't know why that was so funny to me, but it was just this pizza delivery guy that's just waving in trying to get this kid's attention. I
will say though, I thought it was so funny that the pizza delivery guy just sat down and ended up rooting for them too.
That's why I meant it was just such a weird moment, but it was funny to me. And this was, I just wrote down here win first game, and clearly I'm not writing down enough details here, but I guess nothing of consequence happens in this game of major proportions. And then I wrote down here, the hotel guy is so bizarre, which, yes, no shit, Chris, but I don't know, I forget what happens in this moment.
They won their first game.
Yeah.
And yeah, so not too much happens. Yeah, and they have a pool party at the hotel.
Yes.
And all the kids are happy, and they're all like, "Oh, remember that feeling, and we're gonna focus on that," and all the kids are having fun. And then the pool guy comes over, and he's like, "Yeah, there have been complaints about noise and stuff." And after talking for a moment, Sean Payne realizes that there aren't any complaints. So he's like, "Eric, what's going on?" And he's like, "I just... you guys are all having fun, and I gotta work, And he's like, "Do you want to take a break? You can hang out by the pool, I guess, whatever." And he's like, "Do you think it would be okay if I went in my underwear?"
Oh, that's right.
Like, "No, yeah, I think that would be extremely inappropriate."
Yeah, that was it.
And then one of the other kids gets him to go away by, I think, lying to him and saying somebody got their hand stuck in the ice machine.
Oh, I've been there. Everyone's been there.
Yeah, that's what he says.
Yeah. We've all been there.
Jesus.
That kid actually might be my favorite football player. On the team.
Which one again?
I don't remember which one he was.
He the kid with the long blonde hair that ends up being the quarterback.
Oh, the one who then understands football plays because of the talk at the restaurant, yes. Where they're like, "You got to do a double, triple frontal back," and he's like,
2 limes and a hot sauce.
And he's like, "Oh, got it."
Mainly for one line he has in the locker room later on that I'll say when we get to my laughs.
Yeah. So so then we get we get a win sequence. So we get a lot of games where they're winning games, right? Amongst that, the kicker keeps on struggling. And I think there's a cut to the girl that he likes, and she says something along the lines of he keeps on missing the kick, and then the mom goes, "Oh, what a little wussy," and I'm just like, what the fuck?
Why do those lines? Why do they have those lines?
Why is he a wussy?
I guess shock humor that a parent would say that about another kid.
I guess so. And then you get this scene.
We've been talking about this movie for 50 minutes, and we're probably halfway through.
I know. This is a long ass podcast. Just bear with us. We're in this. There's a scene behind the stadium where Sean Payton meets up with his ex-wife and Rob Schneider, who, by the way, the ex-wife is Adam Sandler's real life wife. By the way,
shit.
just wanted to point that out. So, and this, I guess you could say this was Rob Schneider's best scene. I didn't really find it that funny, but it was just so absurd how. I feel like, Walsh, if anyone, you're going to be able to recount this better, right? What was this story?
Are you talking about the logs?
The lead up to the logs?
Oh, no. You're talking about when he's because Sean's struggling to connect with his son.
Yes.
So Rob Schneider comes up and he's like, oh my fuck, holy shit, a lot of sirens outside. Sorry, guys, I'm getting arrested. Give me a second. And... Rob Schneider comes up and he's talking about, it's tough, my parents divorced my parents divorced when I was only 8 years old. And how he would avoid his dad, and how he wouldn't talk to him, he would blow him off, and it probably broke his heart. And then Sean Payton's like, oh, well, how'd it end? Like, what happened? And he's like, how's your dad? And he's like, oh, I have no fucking clue. I haven't talked to him in 30 years. And then it's like, okay, that's kind of funny. But then it goes on a little too long. He's like, then why would you tell me that story? Because, you wear the same cologne as him. I'm not wearing cologne. And then he smells him. You're not. Oh, oopsie.
And they just take him away, right?
And then they just walk away.
Yeah.
And then I think, at this point too in the movie, I think Mitch's bicycle chain has broken. And he has also he ripped off the bicycle from a restaurant off the wall and stole the chain from that.
Jesus Christ.
Yes, it was yes, he did, because it was a big just crash onto the table and then he ran out.
Yep. Comedy.
My God.
Comedy.
Well, then we get to Dennis's mom's segment of, this is the moment where Sean Payton decides to visit the house of Dennis, and in his mind, he's thinking that he's here to help Dennis with the playbook and help him get
hold on.
Coached up.
Did we talk about the porcupines?
That's later.
Oh, shit. I got shit mixed up. Sorry.
No, that is later.
It's hard to follow.
It's a lot. So, Dennis's mom has invited him over, and again, in Sean Payton's mind is like, yeah, like he's ready to hang out with Dennis and like kind of like help him with the playbook and everything. And then he looks over and he sees that the table has been made for two in a very romantic way. And then I don't know if I don't know if she's actually had like a specific name, but Dennis's mom just like comes around the corner and starts to like really just lean into like the, not just, it wasn't even innuendos at this point, like she's just straight up like, I know like people like you want like I think like a what was she was like,
she was talking about, she first brought up Beth and his ex-wife.
Yes.
And he's like, oh, she's like, oh, it must have been so hard. And he's like, it happens. And she's like, like women like that, sometimes they can't handle the pressure, like of like a real man or things like that. Very much referring to like being fucked.
Right.
But yeah.
In front of her kid.
Yeah.
Her kid's just there in the room.
Yeah.
And then like she then goes to wink, and then she gets her eyelashes stuck, so she has to go use the bathroom, and Dennis basically takes this opportunity to be like to help Sean Payton out and just be like, go, you're good, you're in the clear. And it's at this point that he gets the phone call that he had been appealing the suspension, and ultimately it did not work out for him. This leads to the porcupine game, where as he's entering the game, he gets stopped by Tracy Wolfson, a real-life NFL reporter who also works for CBS on the sidelines. She was there to question and is trying to get like, hey, like, what's your reaction to everything? And he's trying to not really, he's doing the usual football coach speak about the whole thing. But this is the lead up to the porcupine game. And can I just tell you, like, I have another favorite character that I'm going to reveal later on, but my second favorite character in this whole thing is the Porcupines head coach.
He's kind of awesome.
He's fantastic.
He looked like he was having a fucking blast the whole time.
I think they probably just made it so that way he was tasked with just go all hard on just smack talk the whole time. That's probably all he was tasked for doing, and he fucking nailed it. Actually, holy shit! I'm reading this dude's Wikipedia. His name is Isaiah Mustafa. He's an American actor and former American football wide receiver. He is also the main character of the Old Spice commercials.
Oh, it's the Old Spice guy?
It's the Old Spice guy!
It's the Old Spice guy!
So I did not expect that.
Checks out. Okay, I'm all in.
Yeah, so this guy's awesome. This is the like second favorite character in the film, and
I think he's my favorite.
this is you get the immediate intimidation of like, this is the Porcupines, this is the state champions, like they're intimidating the fuck out of the Argyle Warriors, and which is the name of the team, which we haven't established until an hour into this review. But the whole time he's doing these football plays that Sean Payton is not like recognizing and doesn't know how to kind of combat, and the whole time he's talking so much shit, and I'm rooting so hard for the Porcupines in this. Like, I'm just like, this is so good. I'm enjoying this so much, and it leads, and so it is this amazing sequence. I don't think that there's anything funny that necessarily happens in this outside of the fact that they just get their ass kicked. But then it leads to a scene in the bar where Dan Patrick is on the screen. Dan Patrick, a real life sports talk show host, saying that like, man, what an embarrassment for for Sean Payton that he got his butt kicked at the high school level. And it cuts to Tracy Wolfson, who says like, it's, maybe the Saints don't even need him anymore. Maybe it might be maybe the head coach of the Porcupines might be able to fill that role for the Saints. And at this point, my heart dropped, because I was like, is this where this movie's going? Are we going to actually, is the crisis that's going to happen is that he thinks that he's going to lose his job with the Saints because of this guy, the Porcupines? Is that where we're going with this? I didn't quite go in that direction.
No.
So
I think this is where the Wilhelm scream was.
Yes, during this sequence was the Wilhelm scream. So then I'm at a point here where I'm writing things down, and I'm not seeing, I don't have the connection between bullet points. I write here, it's like a Do It Like Breeze segment. So they talk about Drew Brees, about how he stays after practice to keep on working on the motions of the game and all that stuff. And it's like this little like football moment. I wrote here, what is Taylor Lautner's role in this film? Because I was just sick of him at this point. And then
he could have been a cardboard cutout for most of the movie. I don't think anybody would have noticed.
That's how I felt. And then they sit in the locker room, and they then decide to help try to solve the kicker's problem. And they're like,
well, yeah.
What? So the kicker goes to him, and it's just like, okay, we have to figure out a way to kind of like set you up with this girl, I guess, is basically what they're trying to do. It then splash cuts to them at night holding these lanterns, and I burst out laughing. Like, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? What was your reactions to this moment? Curiosity, because like it was a
nothing reaction from me. I was like, oh, okay, that's how I responded to it.
I thought it was even funnier the second that like all of the kids, like, because he talked about like I even had to like drop chorus because this girl was in my class and I just couldn't do it.
Yes,
and, the way all of the kids were just so serious, like, what? Harlan has the voice of an angel, like.
That's right.
So yeah, and they go to the girl's house and they light these like lamps to fly and have him sing to the girl. But go on, in case we've missed anything you guys want to talk about.
No. Well, then they start singing, and it's "Carry Me Home Tonight." I don't know what the actual name of the song is, but it's by Fun. I
think it's like Tonight, but yeah.
Yeah, Tonight. Yeah, like yeah. It's, and they start, and they like. I don't understand the point of the lanterns outside of the gag that we're about to get to, because it's like, if she's inside the home, she's not going to see the lanterns lift up into the sky, so what the fuck is the point of the lanterns?
Because it's nice ambiance. That couldn't possibly go wrong in the slightest.
And then the person leaves the house. I kind of had the feeling they kind of set it up like very obvious that it was not going to be her house.
Right.
And
That's a very obvious joke to make.
yeah.
That's so funny because that I did not see coming, but the thing with the lanterns I did see coming.
Yes, and then the lantern struck a tree and burnt the tree, and then landed on a car, and that car ended up being the car of the mom of the girl that the kid likes. And it was just like,
how are you going to get to work tomorrow? I won't. I'll get fired.
But that's
I didn't
okay.
laugh at that, but that's just like talking about it. It's such a ridiculous sequence.
She really said, I won't, I'll get fired, but that's
Yes.
okay. And then they just end the fucking scene. They don't do anything to, like, take care of it. They just have destroyed this woman's fucking car, and then they fucking leave.
so then we get to the scene. We get to the scene where Rob Schneider comes in with his power logs. I wrote down super logs, but I'm going to trust your judgment, Matt, that they're called power
one
logs.
of
They
them
might have been super
accidentally.
logs.
Yeah, one of them accidentally calls them super logs. Like, no, they're called power logs. But yeah, he's like, I worked all night. I made these like super energy bars, and they're gonna help the kids. Can I give them to the kids? And the two coaches that are important are half paying attention, and they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. So he gives them out to the kids.
Yeah, and so they do that, and really nothing matters, because then they're in the middle of the rain in the next scene, and they're playing the game, and they're down, and they all of a sudden they begin this like confrontation in like the huddle or at the line of scrimmage in between like the two teams, and one kid
content warning, this might be fucking gross.
Yes, yeah. So the kid starts talking smack, and then I believe it was Polly in this one where Polly's just like yeah, well, and then he vomits. And this, I don't want to even go into the scene. It is just this sequence that leads to just all the kids just start vomiting. And Sean Payton, you start to see the heel turn in this moment, where he's just like, oh, the kids are vomiting, we're playing through it. Alright? And so then it leads to a sequence where they run a play, and the kids are actively vomiting during the play, and using the vomit as a defense mechanism to get the ball into the end zone. And you see, it is the grossest shit, because you see like the fake vomit just everywhere as they slide into the end zone and win the game.
Winner's mentality.
And then just cherry on top of it, they have some of the coaches vomit as well. And it's like,
even the ref fucking vomits. He didn't even eat one. And it was CGI vomit too.
Right.
We're having bad total drama flashbacks.
So this is what I was gonna get to. This was exactly what I wanted to get to. I was like, why is it? We've talked about this on Doc of Shame so much. Vomit isn't funny. It's not funny. It is not funny.
No, I wrote down in my notes. Haha, barf go blah. Also, I don't know why I wrote this down. Every fucking character is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't know what point that was at, but yeah, I guess they're just fucking crazy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, so that scene happens.
That scene happens, and then we get to the phone call that ultimately they make the championship game. Good for them. But in order to prep for it, Sean Payne calls up one of his mentors, and in reality, the mentor that he actually calls is Bill Parcells. I'm guessing Bill Parcells heard that this was a Kevin James and Adam Sandler run film and was like, fuck that, I don't want to be part of that. So instead, they got Bill Cowher, the former Steelers head coach and also CBS personality analyst, to join this film for a few seconds. And for some reason, like, he rolls his eyes when he picks up the phone, and I'm like, what? Like, why is this established that Bill Cowher hates Sean Payton? But all right. And they actually go over like this is what you have to do. This is the game plan that you have to kind of like set out for. And he ends up making this championship game plan for the championship game. We cut then to the championship game, and again, stop me if anything I'm missing anything. We cut to the championship game, and at this point, Payton has decided that there's players that need to be benched and stay benched, and they need to kind of. I think this might have been established earlier in the film, but that there will be players that are going to be benched for this, and that ultimately you're going to have some players are going to end up playing both sides of the ball and like basically playing every single snap. And so at this point, it becomes very clear that Payton is starting to overcoach. He actually comes into the championship game with a defensive game plan. And even though Taylor Lautner is saying like, hey, that's my job, is like 5 lines that he had. And then, and so Sean Payton is like that this is the game plan. This is how we're going to win. And ultimately it was working for them. But then it was kind of like a back and forth battle between the Porcupines. Yes, the Porcupines are back, by the way. And the Warriors. The Warriors are, at one point, I forget if this was before the half or after the half, but there's at some point that the Warriors block a kick for the Porcupines, and for some reason the announcer says touchdown even though there was no touchdown. It was.
No, I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, it was very bizarre.
I think I know what you're talking about. Like, it hits the kid's arm.
Yeah, it hits the kid's arm, and it's a block kick. But for some reason, the announcer says touchdown. I'm just like, okay.
They didn't run it back.
No. It was a blocked kick, and then there would be a turnover on possession. Anyways, that's just the football side of it. So then there's the scene in the locker room where Connor confronts Sean Payton, and is like, none of this is fun anymore. All you care about is winning and how you look to the, NFL, to the press, and how you look in the public eye. And it's the big old moment of the turnaround of Sean Payton realizing, oh, whoops, I'm an asshole, and overcoached. And so was there anything with that locker room scene that beyond that? There's really nothing else that happened.
I don't think so. It was on the field that like Taylor Lautner does something.
Yeah.
Yeah, he says
there was
it's
that
right
dumb
after
shit
the locker
where it was
room
like
scene.
there's that dumb shit where Mitch was like, oh, halftime's over. Oh, never mind. We got about 7 minutes left.
Just because he has to have an awkward moment. It's after that locker room scene, because for some reason his son telling him, hey, you're running me and the other kid who's the best player on the team, you're running us to fucking exhaustion. And I think I wrote down, like, Connor's gonna have fucking brain damage because of, like, how hard he's pushing them and how, like, much they're getting their asses beat while the other kids are just sitting on the bench because they're not very good.
Right.
And Connor's like, it's exactly what you said. And then Mitch, to try to, I guess, bring the tenseness down, is like, all right, halftime's over, let's go. No, wait, it kind of isn't. And Taylor Lautner's like, no, let's go anyway, come on. And then Taylor Lautner passes by, and he's like, listen, when I asked you to be in the part of this and coach this team, you said that if I gave you a whistle, you thought that Connor wouldn't like it. Well, I know how much you want to be wrong about that.
That's the one thing that Taylor Lautner did this entire movie that made an impact.
That's it.
The werewolf within him just staring down.
Yep.
Oh, no, you know what? There was one part during one of them where one of the kids who's like, when he first tried being a quarterback, he throws the ball, and it goes right for Harlan, the kicker, who's on the bench. And Taylor Lautner uses his fucking Shark Boy reflexes to catch it like an inch from his face.
The Shark Boy. Yeah, forgot about that.
But yeah, so that's the big climax. The fucking coach of the Porcupines is having the time of his life.
Yeah, loving it. Loving every moment of it.
And at this point, it's been established that they want kind of their revenge on it. Not only are they going to beat the Porcupines, but they're going to shut down the scoreboard the way that they've had their scoreboard shut down on them.
Right.
They hammer that point home.
They do. So, this leads to, I think, another one of my favorite scenes, and this is where I'm going to reveal my favorite character in this film, where you have a scene where basically like the kids come off the bench that were on the bench for the whole game, and Dennis gets the opportunity to be the fullback and actually run the ball, and he starts like running the ball down the field a lot, and he's just really running, and he finally does get tackled, but it was an amazing run down the field, and then he gets up and then he hugs the opponent and was just like, I'll never forget you. You changed my life for the better, and I appreciate you. And he runs off, and it was at this moment that I was like, Dennis is my favorite character in this whole film.
Dennis
That was great.
I like that.
Yeah. So then, Tracy Wolfson. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no! All I was gonna say was, just before we really get to like the real meat and bones, I did notice that in the audience, Jamie is holding a sign that says, "You either win or grow." That's it. I just thought it was funny.
Rob.
Thank you,
Rob.
vegan man.
Very cool.
The Tracy, I just found it funny that Tracy Wolfson was the sideline reporter for this game, because I'm like, I guess she's been downgraded, is what I wrote down from CBS. And so then we get to the part where they get down to the goal line, and they're about to win this game. They're gotten back into it. And instead of going for another play, they've not been using the kicker at all this entire time. And they're like...
Because he was bad.
Because he's bad. Yeah, he was not kicking a field goal. And finally, Sean Payne's like, you know what? Let's get the field goal kicking unit out there. And I think Taylor Lautner's like, or someone's like, wait, what are you doing? If you score a touchdown, you win the game. And I forget what Sean Payne says. Like, it's just something heroic.
I think Connor's like, Dad, are you sure?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, everybody gets to play in the championship game.
So, okay. So, they line up to kick, and then as he's about to kick, he looks up, and we see the girl, but she's holding a sign. And I forget what the sign says, but it is essentially...
It's just Go Harlan.
Yeah, it says Go Harlan. But where is she standing? Like,
I don't know. I was thinking the same thing.
The whole time I'm like, where the fuck is she? Did they just let her down on the field? Like, is she just standing like behind the end zone? I think that she's underneath the scoreboard, but like,
yeah.
Like, what? So
that shit goes on for way too long.
It is so fucking hammered on, and he goes to kick, and the kick goes up, and it goes wide right into the scoreboard, and the scoreboard turns off, but then starts exploding in fireworks, and then the Argyle Warriors start celebrating that they turned off the scoreboard, even though they lost the championship game, and once again confusing the opposing team completely.
That's okay. You know, the message of the film is, hey, as long as you have fun.
Right, and they had the fun, and
do you have fun watching this movie, Chris?
Oh, Jesus Christ. So, but I do want to point out that while they were really hammering the Harlan thing a lot with this girl, to the point where in the background you heard the marching band rendition of Tonight by Fun.
Yes.
Because of course they did.
Can we also talk about the coach of the Porcupines?
Yes.
Being like, why is my stepdaughter like waving at that kid on the other team?
Yes, a line that did not have to be included.
No, but I enjoyed.
Wait, I fucking missed that line completely.
It was hard to understand.
Yeah.
The delivery was a bit off.
Okay.
I mean, I had my captions on, so but I
might have been taking notes at that point, so I might have looked down for that, but I completely missed that line. That's ridiculous. So yeah, and then that leads to the celebration. The kids give Gary Valentine America's #1 kickstand
for his bicycle.
For his bicycle. Yeah. There you go. And
then he and Dennis's mom get together.
Yes, that's established. You get the coach talks shit one more time to Sean Payton as he walks away. So there's no like redemption there, but I personally felt like that didn't need to be there. I think I just like the fact that this guy's just an asshole and that's it.
Yeah.
I think it's good. And then then you get the scene of Sean Payton leaving the motel because his suspension's almost up, and Eric, our favorite character, shows up once again to show Sean,
show a picture of his baby.
Yeah, his baby, right? But no, it's not just his baby. It's his baby mid-birth. Literally a shot, and we don't get to see it. Obviously, I believe it's a family-friendly film, but it is mid-birth. The baby out of his wife, and sure, that was it. That was pretty much the segment, and it was just Sean Payton being like,
Eric.
you should not have, maybe you should not share that with people. And I was just like,
your wife would be very happy.
I'm gonna add this in here.
Sure.
While Adam Sandler does not make an appearance in the film, we did establish that Jackie Sandler, his spouse, plays Beth.
Mm-hmm.
The girl that Harlan likes is Sonny Sandler, his daughter.
Oh my god.
And Eric, the hotel guy, is his nephew, Jared
Oh
Sandler.
my god.
Yes.
Jesus Christ. All right, so that we're near the end here. It's you get a wholesome dad segment with him and his son, and they're like, yeah, you can visit the facility sometime. And Cornell's just like, okay. And then that kind of cuts away. You get, he returns to the facility. He's talking to his assistant. She says something about running routes, but instead she says Russell Brouts.
She reads RB,
yes.
And he's like, do you know what that stands for? And she's like, Russell Brouts?
Oh, it's running back. That's right. That's right.
Running
That's
back,
what
yes. Yeah, because girls don't know what football is.
Right. That was that. And then he enters his office, and there's the janitor in there, and the janitor turns around, and what I can only describe is it is the real-life Sean Payton in a Lord Farquaad wig as the janitor, shaking his head, saying that it's good to be back. It's good to have you back, coach. And then as he's leaving the room, it's just like, we sucked while you were gone. And he walks out of the film, and the film ends with him placing the participation trophy in front.
The runner-up trophy.
Runner-up trophy in front of the Lombardi trophy on his stand, and there was no post-credit scene, much to my chagrin.
Dude, what a way to jack yourself off in front of an audience.
Really. For real. All right, can I read off the list of the 8 times that I laughed?
Sure,
please.
All right, so most of these were just a chuckle. If I had anything more, I'll let you know, but pretty much they were all just like this weird like chuckle. The first was when Marcos brought the team in for a 1-2-3 Warriors. They flubbed it and fucked up.
Yeah.
They were not in sync. Then it was the first scene with Eric when Kevin James was trying to book the hotel, where he was like, all right, fine, 4 nights. So you don't want the 5th night. That got me. During the whole visor ordeal with Coach Mitch, when he said, it's okay, it's my nephew.
Yeah, because he gets the kid that he thinks through the visor.
Yeah,
which is just a random
but it was
kid.
His own nephew.
Yeah.
When Taylor Lautner says like, hey, show Coach Payton some respect, and one of the kids says, oh, we can do it better. We can do better than that.
No, because they're like, show Coach Payton the same respect you would show me.
Yeah, that type of
Yeah.
deal. Oh, we can do better than that. When the blonde kid gets named quarterback and he shouts excitedly, "Yes, suck it!" And then Peyton tells him to calm down. He's like, "I'm sorry, everyone, I will suck it," and then sits down. That was probably my favorite joke in the whole movie.
That was good. That was fun. Yeah.
That was good. I had one chuckle when Rob Schneider said that he got fired because he let the cat sleep in the kale. Because that was just an outrage, like the most vegan phrase you could utter. I did laugh at when Taylor Lautner says, "I know you don't want to be right" about the whistle. I was like, I see what they did there, kind of laugh. And then I did laugh at the end when Eric showed his son mid-birth.
Okay.
Those were my 8 laughs of the movie.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I think I would say all those are in some ways justified. Yeah. Well, did you at all keep track of your laughs, or did you laugh at all in this film?
I was laughing this whole movie. What are you talking about? Oh man, there was chuckles left and right. No, I was much more laughing at the ridiculousness of scenes.
Yes, that's where I was at.
I didn't want to hammer things home, but in my notes I kept saying like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
And really what is with all of these strange subplots that go fucking nowhere?
Yeah.
Just to introduce, again, characters that are either worse than or crazier than Sean Payton to make him look like the best guy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's... I do really question why this film had to be made. I mean, I don't... do we really need a storyline about Sean Payton's time coaching the high school team? I don't know. Was that
what
really
inspired you to build a second Krusty Krab next to the original?
Okay.
Money.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. But it was fine. It was not offensive. It was not Paul Blart bad. Although, through listening to the McElroys this week, it sounds like that Kevin James might, under the right circumstance, have a Paul Blart Mall Cop 3. So there you go.
They just need to put it in the right setting.
Right setting, yeah. But yeah, that's it. That's the review, guys. We did it.
We did it.
Film.
We talked about Paul Blart Ball Cop. The Kevin James, Sean Payton story.
For an hour and a half. Well, yeah, Walsh, thank you so much for coming in and joining us for this nonsense.
Thank you for having me. I wish the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles showed up. I wish there was driving monkeys.
Yeah, I feel like it would have been I feel like you could have replaced the Ninja Turtles, or you could have had the Ninja Turtles and monkeys fill in for Taylor Lautner and the assistant coach, and maybe a few other characters, and the movie would have been maybe a slight more interesting.
I want every scene where there's Eric or any fucking character that just takes up space. Any lines that they would have, everybody understands them, but it's just a monkey going. Oh, oh, oh.
Yeah.
Okay. You say that. There is a somewhat related. On the season 1 DVD of Archer, they have an alternate version of the pilot where everything is the same except Archer is replaced by a velociraptor.
Oh my god!
And it just makes dinosaur noises, but everyone interacts with it like it's Archer, and and no interactions are different. Just Archer's a velociraptor instead.
I fucking love that. That's fantastic. Well, that was that. Next week you can expect it is the Super Bowl edition of the Virtual Ball Boys podcast. We will break down this game for as long as we want. We'll also go over any other news that comes out prior to the big game as much as possible. We will also what's your availability this Saturday, Matt? You good for Saturday?
Probably.
You want to try VBBFL for this week?
Sure.
Yeah, we'll see.
If not Saturday, maybe Sunday. We'll see.
That's true. We have multiple days on the weekend where we can we can fill in the VBBFL. So sometime this weekend we'll get some more. We'll get another week of VBBFL action. It'll be our week 9 action specifically, and then after that. We have a new episode of the Gaming Coop that came out earlier this week, talking about our favorite licensed games. We have a mini coop in the works that is filmed. I just need to edit it. That'll come out soon. We also have Table Party. Has Table Party come out with a new episode recently?
No.
Okay. Well,
stay
tuned though.
yes. I need to get some behind the scenes things going. But Over Heaven is going to take a little break. But if you guys want some more tabletop stuff, you can actually catch me on another show called Awfully Queer Heroes. Where,
Hell yeah.
I'm playing D&D, not DMing.
Weird.
I know.
Yeah.
I know, crazy. I'm playing a wizard, and they have all of these like homebrew, very gay spells, and they're fantastic.
Hell yeah.
I still have to listen to it, but I will to support you and your gay adventures. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're doing a lot of great work out there in beyond TCP. So please follow Walsh Animation and follow everything that he's working on, because it's fucking awesome work and he's doing great stuff.
Oh, thank you. You guys should follow Virtual Ball Boys.
Yes.
Be weird if you weren't.
Yeah, at this point, I don't know. It'd be weird. But if you came here just for the home team review, I respect it.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
Good night and good ball. Virtual Ball Boys has been brought to you by Team Chaos Productions. Find us on Twitter at Virtual Ball Boys and find more of our work at Team Chaos Pods.